Thanks very much for your time, Terry Flint and Dave Flint. Terry, you are both Dave and Terry are employed by the University of Michigan and well-respected voices in the elevator safety discipline in the United States. Really, Terry is the president of Elevator U, and Dave's been with the university for many years, so they're my go-to people for elevator safety. So Terry is on this call right now, and she will tell us what happened. She's actually on the board. I'm going to show you where we have a project here, and Terry is on the board, and I'll identify her right here. So there's Terry, and here are some of the other elevator safety board members. So I'll cut over to the agenda, and do you want to tell us what happened there on Friday, Terry?
We proceeded through the meeting as we normally do. We reviewed applications for examination for the Certificate of Competency, Contractors Licensing, and Journey Persons Licensing. We have been doing this for many years, and it really is like a job interview. We're presented with their applications. We ask them to fill in holes that we may see in the application. We're really trying to get an idea of their qualifications, their responsibility, and their commitment to safety. And we do that through their work experiences, through their letters of recommendation and their education, and also through the number of hours that they have worked in the industry. The application was revised several months ago, and it was done so with the input of 3 members of the board at that time. It was presented to Lara for review. It was then posted to the website with several changes that had not been approved by the committee that had originally worked on revising the application. In March, it was revised further and required even less information on it, making the job of the board a little more difficult, and also then requiring us to question the applicants a little more extensively and certainly for a longer period of time, so that we could ascertain that they are indeed qualified to sit for their exams and possess the licensing that they're requesting. This has been an ongoing issue for the last several meetings, and it has been brought up during public comment. After that, we did review a couple of variance requests. Again, an act of the board that has been going on for several years. I don't remember a time that variances were not heard by the board. I don't know if Dave recalls a time when that was not the case. So the board reviews the applications for waiver requests. They are usually accompanied by a letter and layout plans and drawings, so that the board can get a feel for what the applicants are requesting and what code they're requesting a waiver from. So we proceeded to hear both of those. One variance request that came before us had been at the June meeting. We requested more information at that time, and they did come back with that. We approved their variance request with several caveats and requirements that they carry through during installation. The second applicant for a variance request came before us. We had considerable questions about their proposal. We again asked them to come back to a future meeting with a substantial amount of additional information. We moved into unfinished business, and then we also moved into the legislative update. Mr. Keith Lambert from Lara stood up during legislative update. He informed the board and the public that was present that House Bill 34 and 35 were effective on August 19th. Those 2 bills changed the licensing, permit, installation, and inspection requirements for private residence equipment. We moved into the division report. Bob Babinski is the acting chief. The current chief is out for a period of time right now, dealing with some personal business. He went through the accident report as well. And then we moved into a very interesting portion of the meeting, which was new business. Mr. Keith Lambert from LARA also stood up again, informing the board and the audience present that Executive Order 1996-2 would be effective and enforced immediately. The board, the Elevator Safety Board, will no longer hear variance requests. They will no longer interview examee applicants. All of that business will go through the Elevator Safety Division. After they have made a ruling, if there is an applicant or a variance request that the applicant disagrees with, if the decision is not as they believe it should be, they will have the opportunity to appeal that decision, and only those matters will come before the Elevator Safety Board from now on. We were all rather surprised to hear that an executive order from 1996 would be overriding Public Act 227/1967 and Public Act 333 from 1976. Those acts outline the duties and responsibilities and the creation, application, and membership of the Elevator Safety Board. We then moved into public comment. Many of the people present took exception with Mr. Lambert's announcement during new business, and they did speak their piece. Several board members stepped down as acting board members and spoke as public citizens of the state, also voicing their displeasure and disagreement with the announcement of the Executive Order 1996-2. We moved through again to the meeting schedule. That's still being finalized. It is not finalized for 2016 yet. And we, at this point, do not know if the meetings that are proposed for 2016 will actually meet. We were told if there is no business for the board to hear, we would be informed 3 weeks prior to the posted meeting date.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Terri. I wanted you to run through the agenda first, but I guess what startles me is that there's this large jump between...
Yeah, it's a typo. Our next meeting is Friday, November 6th, 2015.
Okay.
That is our next meeting. I suspect we will actually meet on November 6th because we did ask one of the variance request applicants to come back with a significant amount of information for us.
Okay.
And the meeting was adjourned.
Okay. All right. Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to go up, knowing I have my own time constraint here right now, but
yeah.
up here, and then I hope Dave will chime in on some of the specifics. So let me get my cursor up there. And so what has normally been, and I had the benefit of having some experience sitting in the meeting last time, Christine and I came up last, so what you were doing was very similar to what I'd seen in all the other, the boiler board, the electrical board, and so I don't think there was the same level of rigor, but there was still this order of business here, and I'm curious to know, jumping ahead a bit, were all the other boards also, did the new order, what was it called, 1996, the governor order, that order?
Executive order, it's 1996-2.
Are all the other boards relieved of their duty to review applicants?
I am told that this executive order is effective immediately and applies to all boards and commissions for the state of Michigan.
Okay, all right. So that is significant. I mean, you could look at it from this standpoint that that there's less work for the board to do, and of course, all the risks associated with that. So here's our website. As you know, we've been approaching each of the boards. I don't want to go into the details about constituencies, particularly the final fiduciary. That's not what this meeting is about. This meeting is about what happened on Friday, and so all this stuff here was done. It was a normal course of business. I'm curious to know what were the variances? What were the nature of them technically? That might sometimes is of interest to me.
The Cornerstone Architects, YWCA, they were requesting a shorter pit depth than what is required by code. They have some footing issues in the building that preclude them from digging down and actually providing a pit of code depth.
Okay.
Quinn Evans, they are requesting that glass and windows be part of their hoistway, and that is explicitly against code. So there is a significant amount of work that we've asked them to do to come back and have further discussion on at our next meeting.
Okay. All right. That's fair. All right. So, okay then. So yeah, I'm familiar with Mr. Lambert. Having sat in all the other board meetings, I think I've been in every board meeting now as of the elevator board. So I've had a chance, and of course the electrical, I'm in there quite a bit. So Dave, so let's get cut to the chase now. Let's listen to the pros and cons of this this change. Was this this is not a surprise, but I think it's surprised. I mean, the issue had. I think it's. You would think that there would be a rollout, that it would that you would be allowed to adjust to the change over a couple of meetings or so, or it might start effective next year, but it's effective immediately, and that's what's startling to me. Any thoughts? This is the time to let fly here, because I know you feel passionate about it, and it does have implication.
I believe this is the next step in the state of Michigan trying to deregulate our industry. I do not believe that the same level of safety is going to be upheld through this. The division continues to have, and this is my personal opinion, I believe that the division continues to have their hands tied on a regular basis, going through all of these exam applicants and not having the benefit of the person being in front of you to question, clarify, and augment their application will make this process arduous. And I think what some members may be after is a rubber stamp, and I don't think that's the best way to serve our industry or the safety of the people in the state.
So what's some keywords? I want to get the regulation up here. Is this?
It's called the Executive Order 1996-2.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, Mike. As I told you before, Terry and joined the meeting, was that it's very disheartening to see that an executive order from 1996 is now being applied, and for 19 years they've run under the laws and rules, and now their executive order that was published in 1996, they're changing the rules to suit the LARA, so that they have no obstacles in front of any potential owner or prospective contractor or prospective journey person to move forward and get a license. If you check the past, you'll find that most of the applications which are reviewed by the division before they're sent to the board are incomplete and do not show the complete history of the person's application to show that they're working or not working. So it becomes an issue that if they weren't doing it before and then the board had to do it at their meetings, why would the issue be such that They just rubber stamp it, as Terry said.
Mm-hmm. So you referred to some spirited discussion in the at the end in the public hearing. So I think what you described to me, in my mind's eye, I'm thinking that people who are actually on the board actually stepped out of their desk behind the board and then went in front of the microphone. Is that what happened?
Yeah, in addition to audience participants also speaking their views.
So I was at the last. I believe it wasn't. I believe I was at the last meeting. Was I not? June 2nd.
No.
Yeah, I was. I was at this
You
one.
were.
I was at this one. Yeah. So there was no indication that this was, to the best of my knowledge, there's no indication at that time that this would be happening. So no, I attended this one with Christine. Well, and it doesn't look like anything, no follow-up on this. So what does that mean now? There's another group of people between August. Usually you have, I don't know, I recall 10, maybe 10 individuals that wanted to get their license, and you look them over. And there were a lot of, as I recall, there was a fair amount of just typographical, clerical, nothing, just as you say, Terri, incomplete applications.
Mm-hmm.
But what's going to happen between August and November? I mean, is there nothing? Maybe that's not such a long period of time, but
Okay, Mike. The board meets 5 times a year. Okay.
okay.
And the meeting that was just held was last Friday in August. Okay, which was August 21st. The meeting you were at was in June. This transpired at the August meeting, not the June meeting.
That's right, but you would think that there would have been a little bit of indication during here that something. It's a non-trivial change. Am I mistaken? Am I mistaken? This is a non-trivial change, and
to the university.
This is significant.
Okay, yeah, I guess it's my way of understating. Yeah, it's a significant change. So for colleges and universities in hospitals, and as Dave says to me, what did we estimate? There's about 66,000 elevators in the state of Michigan, and maybe 33,000 of them are actually operating. And of those 33,000 operating, maybe 10,000 are in education and healthcare. What does it mean for what will it mean for their safety practice and their the fees they have to pay for state inspection?
I don't know where it's going right now.
Yeah, the fees won't be reviewed by the board anymore.
No.
Okay. The fees will not be reviewed by the board. And the university's efforts to get more people on the board so that we have a say in what happens is gone by the wayside because they're not going to add people to the boards. You have to change the law to do that, as you and I talked about before, Mike.
Yeah, no, people, I remind everybody that I do get that. I want others to understand my point of view when I do that. I cut across about 100 consortia and regulatory documents in my daily work, and so I see constituencies. Let's just take the Financial Services Standards Board, the Financial Accounting Standards Board. That's not an ANSI accredited board, but it is all made up of accountants, and that's what we would call a consortia type of a standard where knowledgeable people develop their own standards. And so you can see this happening in Internet of Everything. So there's different ways that the markets bring the best ideas forward. So from my point of view, what I see across these 100-odd standards developers, some ANSI accredited, mostly unaccredited, is the tendency for the final fiduciary, the person who's actually paying for everybody else's good intentions. They're almost never present to any large degree in a structural kind of way. So I have one problem. I have one problem. I can't get that
Mike.
person to the board, but it's still assuming I have this fantasy that people who the public sector would actually pay for, actually barter for what they pay for, and then that's a big problem, as you know. So I'm just trying to set up more
Let me
balance.
jump in there, Mike.
Go ahead.
Let me jump in there.
Yeah.
After the meeting, I talked to Stacy from Lara, who is works for Barb Kunkel, who is the overseer of Bureau of Construction Codes. She's above Irvin. Stacy works for her, and I said, okay, so are we as the university or the general public going to be able to sit on the code review committee in order to push them forward to the legislature? And she says, no, what you'll do is during public review, you'll be able to comment. But that doesn't mean that your comments will be taken.
Okay. Well, usually they stand on their technical or economic merit, but I get that. So in a certain sense, David, this development, I'm a little concerned about the licensing and the individuals. I do think it's important to have face-to-face. I get that. So that's troublesome to me. But having this extra step actually helps us. So I just think we're going to have to let this play out. If all the other boards are going this way, and actually it is interesting that the boards are going in a direction of, even though they didn't do it exactly the way we would have thought we would have liked them to do it, but it turns out that that some of the practical effect was what we wanted actually happened. This is a large discussion, and I don't think we should wait until November to talk about it again. And my hope is that that you'll have time. You'll have time again, and I'd like to leave the platform open for you to make counter arguments. Terri, if you want to allow Elevator U to explain a little bit more about the labor pool, the quality, anything that you feel passionate about and you think will help the industry, I like to keep the door open for you to speak at any time of your convenience.
Thanks.
I do have another call. I'm not sure if you saw that flag come up, but we're meeting with the professional lighting and stage, the people who do, it's called PLASA. They're an organization that looks for safety on stages and athletic events and such. And we have a fair amount of stages and athletic events in our industry, as you know. And there's not a lot of leading practice documents on that. So with that, we do have a conference call slightly related to this. We're going to, if Dave's not able to call in on Friday, we can do something ahead of time. But I wanted to compare participation costs. If you look at this particular summary of what we'd like to cover, even though it's supposed to be an open door discussion, sometimes if not enough people call in, we usually then we do talk about something. My hope, Dave, is that to find time this week, and even Terri, if you want to talk about what does it cost to finance a vote here. It's probably one of the more expensive votes we could do, but elevators really, elevator safety, you reach people. Elevators are very much like the structural engineering standards. You reach people in a very visceral way when you think about getting trapped in an elevator and some of the horrific accidents you had. So the ethos that I saw in June was well placed. So with that, I have to end this call and start another. But Dave and Terri, I'm very grateful for your time. I'll post this up and let you review it. I'm sure there's nothing untoward here. It was all very informative. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah? Okay.
Friday, I can't make it, so.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll punt. We'll figure something out. We can actually do a pre-record at another time then. Thanks very much, Dave and Terri. I've got to get this other call going. Bye-bye.